Welcome, Fearless, to another Tactical Tuesday. Tonight, we're continuing our topic of taking action this month. So this month has been named Taking Action April, and we're named it that for a reason. What happens in Canada, guys, this time of the year? Have you ever noticed that, real estate sales slow down? Everybody kind of waits till the spring to maybe list their home, maybe buy a new home, maybe find an investment property. Well, it gets active, doesn't it? And so what we want you guys as real estate investors to be doing is taking action, doing little steps. It might not be actually buying a property, but it might be taking some steps towards getting closer to being able to do that. And so last week, we talked about a number of things that hold people back from taking action and all the remedies that come along with that. So if you missed last week's topic, go back there and watch that one. But this week, we're going to kind of take it to the next step. And one of the first things that you kind of do when you're taking action is we need to put in offers, right? If you're going to buy a piece of real estate, you need to put in an offer. So what are some practices that we can make sure we're doing properly? What are some things we can make sure we're not doing when it comes to putting in offers? And we're actually going to go through 10 specific points as to how we can negotiate a little bit better when it comes to our offers. And hopefully from getting through this training tonight, guys, you'll be able to pick out a few points that might help you improve in your next offer, or maybe give you the courage to move forward and take action where you maybe wouldn't have before. Okay, so that's kind of our purpose for tonight. Taking action April, making an offer. Let's get going.
Hey guys, it's Corey and Tiffany, and we're the co-founders of Investor Life.
And we help investors scale their portfolios using other people's money. Fearless, welcome to another Tactical Tuesday.
Welcome to another Tactical Tuesday. We have a really cool topic that we're going to be talking about tonight. This, guys, I hope is a scenario that shows you the power of leveraging your money.
We help investors take their portfolios from 2 or 3, 5 properties maybe, up to 15, 20, 50 properties if that's what they're wanting to.
Really, the sky's the limit. And we help investors scale their portfolio.
For free weekly live trainings that we do over there on Facebook. Thanks for...
Hey guys, it's Corey from Investor Life, and Tiffany just stuck out her tongue at me. Okay.
Yeah, that was a bad rendition. But guys, today, what wrecks people in real estate? We're going to be talking about that, and we're going to make sure that it doesn't happen to you.
Welcome back, everybody, and great to have you here. I notice a few of you already putting your name in the comments. I'm just bringing up Facebook here on the side because I know StreamYard doesn't allow us to see all of your comments and who is actually doing it. So I'm just going to bring that up here so that I have it and I know who's talking to us. And there we go. We're all good to go. Okay, so guys, tonight, who wants to take action in April, in May? Like soon? Who wants to take action? If you want to start taking action in this real estate investing business, and maybe something's been holding you back, last week talked about some of those major things that holds a lot of people back. But one of the things that we need to do if we are going to be an active real estate investor is we put in offers on properties, right? So some of the main questions that we get asked all the time, and how many offers should I be making before I expect one to be accepted? What are some good offer strategies? What things should we not do with our offers? How much risk am I putting on myself or my company if I'm putting in an offer? What is the 3-offer strategy? So these are some of the questions we're going to ask, and then we're going to actually go through after that 10 different points as to how we can improve our offers, improve our negotiating strategy when it comes to doing this. Guys, we want you this month to be starting to take action. This is the time of year where you can really do some amazing things when it comes to real estate investment. And if something's holding you back, then have somebody help you move through that. make some progress when it comes to your portfolio. As you come on, please say hi. Let us know where you're from. So Karina, nice to see you from Edmonton. Jules from Spruce Grove. Facebook user, it tells me. See, this is why I bring this up. Who do we have here? Christy from Nanaimo. Welcome, Christy. Benji from Calgary. Welcome, Benji. Fritzy from Regina. And I know many will be joining us for this next little bit here. Washington. Okay, someone joining us from Washington. Washington from Washington? Are you in Washington right now? I wonder. All right, Sharon. Yes. All right. May not have a question tonight, but look out. Excellent. Oshawa, Toronto, I think you're trying to say there, Sharon. Sunderland, Ontario, Saskatoon, so all across Canada. So welcome everybody to our Tactical Tuesday tonight. So let's start off at the very beginning. When it comes to taking action on an offer is kind of where it really starts, doesn't it? So, one of the things and one of the strategies that a lot of people have taught in the past is go out there and make as many offers as possible. And, hopefully one of them will stick. That's a strategy that actually has been taught by numerous different real estate investing clubs, education groups, etc. I'm actually not a fan of that strategy, going and putting a whole bunch of offers. And I'll just give you a little background as to a lot of the things we're going to be talking about tonight are coming from the point of view of being an investor that purchased over 100 properties himself. I negotiated myself with the help of my realtors on all of those properties. And, and then I became an investment focused realtor in 2008. And my eyes were really open when that happened because, I thought going into that, well, I know how to negotiate. I've done this over 100 times. I bought a lot more property than most people do. I'm pretty experienced at this. And then going through the stages of being a realtor and having to deal with other realtors and all the things that come along with that, I learned a whole bunch of different things that really helped in negotiations that I never knew before. So maybe you're somebody that has a whole bunch of property. There's always something more you can learn. And so I hope, to open up some eyes a little bit and some of the things we're going to talk about tonight, because it's coming from a place of not only 100 plus properties ourselves, but it's also a place of dealing with literally thousands of deals that we dealt with as a realtor, that I dealt with as a realtor, and my team dealt with as being a team of realtors. And so I'm no longer a realtor, but these are experiences that I gained throughout the last 15, 20 years that hopefully we can impart some of that to you guys tonight. When it comes to putting in an offer, what do you need to be scared about? What not? And what things should you be making sure you're doing when you're negotiating? And so that's what we're going to share tonight. And of course, if you have questions as we go through this, please just throw it in the chat and I'll do my best to answer those questions. And I'll just tell you, I have a new camera tonight. This is the first time I'm using it where I'm actually looking straight at the screen, which is kind of cool. So if I find myself looking up, that's just because I'm used to doing that and been doing that for the last 5 years. But the camera is now down here, so I can actually look straight at you, which is really cool. All right, here we go, guys. So how many offers should you make? One of the first places that we start is I've had a lot of clients come to us in the past and say, hey, I'm gonna put out 30 or 40 offers, and if one of them sticks, then I'm ahead. I'm gonna get something maybe way below market value, or I'm gonna get something that is a really good deal in one way or the other. And that may be true, and you might get that one deal that is really good. However, what that does that's negative is that, when you put in several offers like that and you kind of like spam essentially a whole bunch of different pieces of real estate, maybe you're putting in an offer with one particular realtor, or maybe you're using several realtors, it doesn't really matter. It's amazing how, Edmonton's a million people plus, and in a city at the size of Edmonton, word travels really fast. So if you're in a center that's even smaller than that, word is going to travel even faster. And it's amazing how your reputation makes such a huge difference. And you never know, you put in an offer one day with a particular listing realtor, and then, 6 months down the road, they have another great property for one reason or another, and you're putting in an offer again. Well, they're going to base that experience on the first one that they had. And these types of, your reputation is going to be make a big difference going down the road when it comes to real estate negotiations. So one of the things that I've seen harm people is spamming offers. So don't do that. That's my suggestion. Put in legitimate offers. If you're putting in one or two at a particular moment and you have the ability to close on them, then go ahead and do that. But don't be just spamming offers out there. That is not good for you. It's not good for the sellers. It's not good for the realtors involved. It's not good for your reputation. So the answer to the question, how many offers should you make? As many offers as you're able to close on. Okay. So that's one suggestion for you. Heck yeah. Yes, Craig and Lisa, it is amazing how small the investing community is. Absolutely. Absolutely. Great to see everybody here. And if you have questions as we go along, please throw it in the chat. Okay, so the next question then, so what is the best offer strategies? Okay, there's so many different strategies you can do with an offer. One of the big suggestions that I usually tell people, and this is going to be covered in our 10 points as well, is don't just focus on the price. A lot of times we focus on price. And I don't know, I can't remember how many negotiations maybe fall apart because the two parties were $500 apart. Do those investors 10 years later really care whether they had got that house, that property, whatever it is, for $500 more or $500 less? Do they really care? But what happens when we start getting into negotiation? A lot of times what happens is we start to get emotionally involved. We want to win. And I'm putting that in air quotes for a reason. Because if we're scraping the last $500 out of our vendor, our seller, we're probably not going to win. And I'm going to give you an example. There was one deal where we scraped to the bottom of that vendor. They weren't happy, but they were kind of forced in a situation where they had to sell. And so I was representing the buyer in that case, and they just wanted to keep negotiating lower and lower. And this is kind of at the beginning of me being an investor-focused realtor. And is the sound not good, guys? Let me know. Let me know if the sound's not good. Jasmine says, is Corey on a loop? I hope I'm not frozen. I hope the sound is okay. Okay. I'm just going to keep going and hopefully that everything works out fine. Okay, Fritzy, it's working well for me. Okay. All right. So I wonder if my cell phone is interfering somehow. Let's keep going. You hear me okay? Okay, good. Thanks. Thanks, guys. So this one particular deal, we had kind of scraped to the bottom. When the buyer actually took possession of the property, it had a pool in it. This was not an investment property, it was a personal residence, had a pool in it. And the seller didn't bother winterizing it that year. Didn't bother cleaning up the house when they left. They got all of their furniture out, etc. But I think they had to spend $2,000-3,000 on a cleaner to come in and clean up some of the junk that was in there. They ended up spending about $5,000 to $10,000. I can't remember exactly the number, but it was significant on repairing the pool, getting it going again. All of those sorts of things. And we look back on that, and both the buyer agreed that, you know what, we kind of pissed off the seller by trying to get that last $500. And then that was the result. Now, what are the consequences? Like, technically they're not supposed to do that. And you could take them to court, but what are the costs involved in doing that? And, so in the end, trying to negotiate that last $500, the buyers ended up losing in that scenario. Do you see what I'm saying? So, we want to make it a win-win so that the seller is happy. They're going to clean the place. It's going to be ready for you, hopefully, in most cases. And we want to make sure that it's a win-win scenario. And that is really winning when it comes to placing offers, when it comes to negotiating here in real estate. So hopefully that makes sense. Just that little story there hopefully clarifies. One of the things we don't want to do with our offers is scrape to the very bottom of the other side. Be considerate of the fact of what they're trying to get. And in the end, 10 years later, 5 years later down the road, is it really going to matter whether you're $1,000 higher or lower? Is that going to affect your ROI dramatically? Is that going to affect your mortgage payment throughout those years dramatically? No, it's not. And so if we can make sure that both sides are happy in the negotiation, then that's a win when it comes to our offers. So the next question is, how much risk is there in placing an offer? And of course, all of you guys know that, we have the ability to place conditions on our offer, right? And so if we have conditions, then that is our way out, essentially. If we can't get financing, if there's something wrong with the inspection, maybe if we're buying a condo, if the condominium documents don't look good, maybe we put in a buyer's lawyer's a condition, or there's a million conditions we could put into our offer. So of course, the more conditions we put in our offers, the less chance it's going to be accepted. And sometimes the higher price we're going to end up having to pay. So we have to weigh the difference between how many conditions are we going to put on versus how good of a negotiation do we want on the price and on some of our other terms. And so we have to weigh out those two different things. Well, of course, we want conditions. I would never suggest somebody go into any real estate deal unless they have the cash in their pocket to close on it without a financing condition. And in most cases, unless it's brand new and coming with warranty, et cetera, you would probably want to get an inspection done for the $400 or $500 that it costs to do it. It's worth it. And so these are some of the things that we want to have on there. And so is there a risk? Well, if the property turns out perfect, which I've never seen one do, and you don't remove the inspection condition because you're not comfortable with it, then the property goes back on the market, right? The financing, if you can't get your financing, the property goes back on the market, or financing that is approved by you, the financing that you will approve of, however that condition is worded. So those, is there a risk in putting in an offer? There's a risk of putting in an offer that you're not going to be able to close on, and that might hurt your reputation. Okay. But is there a risk in putting in an offer that you can't get out of? Well, as long as you have conditions, you're probably okay. Okay. And so this is where you work with your realtor, you work with the vendor, you're trying to make a win for the seller, you're trying to make a win for yourself. So as long as you have those conditions, there's really very, very little risk putting in an offer. Okay, so remember that. Remember, this month, guys, we're talking about taking action. Who of you, throw it in the chat, who of you here has thrown in an offer? We're 9 days into April. Who here has thrown in an offer in the month of April? Say something in the chat. Or who here wants to put in an offer? We got 3 weeks left, let's say, wants to put an offer this month. Throw it in the chat. Curious to know. Someone said, yep. Kevin Russell says, yep. Put in an offer. All right. Robin. Well done, Robin. Awesome. Good to hear. That's really, really good. Yes, 2, says Jasmine. Well done. Well done, guys. Taking action. That's really what this is all about. So well done in doing that. One offer. Let's see, who's that? One offer, Mordak. Awesome. Christy, I want to, but don't know how or what to say or what happens next. Interesting, Christy. Are you putting in the offer yourself, or are you working with a realtor? Do you have a property? Obviously, you must have a property that you'd like to offer on. Maybe let us know in the chat. Ermel, line them up. That's right. Ermel is always taking action. Couple in the last 2 weeks, says Joel. So guys, you are taking action. So well done on that. That is the first steps, and obviously continuing our real estate journeys, right? Building our real estate businesses and adding to our portfolio. So who here has heard of the 3-offer strategy or used it? This is something that we kind of developed back in late 2007 and 8, where we were dealing a lot directly with vendors, with sellers, and we were offering them different options. And we kind of worked through it, working as a realtor, And the 3 offer strategy is something that we have found to be super effective. We're not going to spend a ton of time on it tonight because we have other trainings. We've talked about that on Tactical Tuesday. And if you have more questions, just let us know on that and we can get you the information. But I'm just going to share my screen quickly, guys, and just share you where you can find our 3 offer strategy if you want to. And let me just do this. If you go to our website, investorlife.com, and you go into the toolkit, and then you go down to 3 offer strategy, okay? You click there, you put your name and your email in. That's all you got to do. And then it gets emailed to you, okay? And you'll have a copy of our 3 offer strategy. It's a very, very simple spreadsheet, guys. And the purpose of it, though, is here's the deal. When we offer, and we're going to again talk about this in our top 10 coming up, but when we offer people multiple choices, okay, so instead of saying, hey, I'm going to give you this, and they renegotiate and say, no, I want that. You say, okay, I'll give you this. And then they say, no, I want that. And you're going back and forth, negotiating an offer. Instead of doing that, what we found to be very, very effective is to give them multiple options. So for example, let's say one option is a cash purchase, but obviously it's a very low price. The second option is maybe a higher deposit. Maybe it is a slightly higher price than the cash price. And maybe a quicker close. Okay. The third option might be a longer close, less money down for us, maybe the highest price for that. Maybe we're wanting to put the least amount of money down. We're not wanting to do an all cash purchase. It's more important, let's say in this scenario, for us to put less money down than it is for us to get a lower price. And if the scenario is the opposite, we can work the numbers so that it's the opposite as well. But what happens, the point of all of this, is if you give multiple options to somebody, then what we find that they do is they end up picking one of them. Because they start looking at these options and they say, okay, well, I want the highest price possible. Okay, well, that's that one. Well, if how am I going to deal with this? That price is good. It's more than maybe what I was asking for. But there's some other things I don't like about it, but maybe I want the highest price, et cetera, et cetera. And we end up working them towards the offer that we want, and they pick one. So obviously we want all 3 options on our side of things to be beneficial for us in one way or the other. But when we give them more than one option, they pick instead of going back and forth negotiating. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And of course we have, there we go. Jules just shared a link to the worksheet on the 3 offer strategy. So you can click there, guys. You can download that. It's absolutely free. And it works extremely well, let me tell you. Okay, we've saved thousands of dollars in down payment money just by using this strategy. We've saved thousands off purchase price. We've made vendors extremely happy because they actually see what they're getting out of the deal. It's an awesome strategy. So use it, guys. Okay. Let's see here. So that's the 3 offer strategy. So now, guys, we're going to go through 10 points when it comes to negotiation. Okay. And you know, if you're putting in offers, you want to negotiate properly. But I'm curious, throw it in the chat. What do you think? What does winning negotiation mean to you? How do you answer that question? Throw it in the chat. If I said to you, I want you to win this negotiation, what does that mean to you? How would you answer that question? Fritzy says a win-win for both the buyer and the seller. Okay. What else, guys? What does that mean to you? Getting the deal under contract, that's winning. Okay. I'm going to go down here. Get Kate Gauss, Craig, and Lisa. Winning negotiation is a closing date for Chris. Okay. Interesting. Maybe a cover letter with a review of the offers. Okay, that might be a strategy. Yeah. What's winning a negotiation? mean to you? The thousands of negotiations that I've been a part of when it comes to real estate and real estate investment, it kind of boiled down to a few things for me. And number one, winning a negotiation meant this: getting a deal done. Nobody wins if a deal doesn't get done, right? If a deal gets done, both sides win. So number one, we need to get deals done. Okay, period. That's winning a negotiation. Now, if both sides are happy when that deal gets done, that is like extremely winning a negotiation, right? Creating a win-win scenario for everyone, says Leo. Everyone walks away happy. Absolutely. Greg, win-win for both. Sharon, having my major point in an offer accepted. Okay. So we want both parties to be happy. We want a deal to actually get done. That means we want a negotiation. So sometimes, though, what people feel is that winning a negotiation is getting the price they wanted, or getting the closing date they wanted, or getting the whatever it might be in the terms they wanted, or the things included in it, maybe the fridges and stoves and dishwashers that they wanted. But if you try to negotiate for all of that and you don't get the deal done, you just wasted all your time, right? That's not winning no negotiation. So getting a deal done is actually winning a negotiation. Here's some things that we can do when we're in that negotiation process that are going to help to improve it for us. Okay, we're going to run through 10 points here. We got about a half an hour or so, and these are the 10 main points that I want you guys to pay attention to. Number one, and these aren't in any particular order. In fact, I think number 10 is probably the best. But number one, never act too excited. Think about this. You're negotiating and you are super excited about it. What does the other side think? Throw it in the chat, guys. What do they think? You know, every deal might be important to us, but we want to kind of hide our emotions on it. We don't want to overshare information that we don't need to. And here's a key, guys, when it comes to negotiating. Silence is the loudest word. How many times maybe we're having a discussion with somebody and we just let it be silent for maybe a little bit longer than we normally would. What does the other side do? They get a little uncomfortable, right? What do they start to do? They start to talk. And they start to give information that helps us in our negotiation. Silence is the loudest word in your negotiation. So talk less and listen more. That's the key. Don't act too excited when you're negotiating a real estate deal. Because in those moments of silence, guys, what happens is the other person might start to get a little intimidated. We're not wanting to make them uncomfortable, but this is when you can start to win a negotiation. So don't act too excited. Stay silent. Talk less. Listen more. That's point number one. Number two, another very important thing when it comes to negotiating your offers is having knowledge. Knowledge of maybe the market, knowledge of the type of property that you're buying. Maybe you bought several of those types of properties before, you know exactly the layout of them, or maybe it's knowledge on the builder that built them, or maybe it's knowledge on the vacancy rate or the type of tenants that you're going to have to deal with. Whatever it might be, knowledge is power. So make sure that you're educated enough. Make sure that you have a team around you enough where you do have that power when it comes to negotiation. And know your goal at the end of the day. What are you trying to accomplish with this negotiation? So the more knowledge we have, the more, what happens if we start kind of talking, let's say we're talking directly to the seller and we're trying to be a buyer, we're putting in an offer, and we're telling them the research we've done on the zoning in that particular area, kind of what our plan is for that particular property, the rents we're trying to get out of that property, or, we start giving them the knowledge because we've done the research. What does that make them think? That makes them think, obviously, we're a serious buyer, number one. They're going to take us more seriously, right? We put the time and effort into figuring all of this stuff out. Why would they not want to work with us in this scenario? We're not just a fly-by-night type of investor, okay? And the more value we add for the other side. So, what I found is sometimes we say, hey, listen, you know what, whether we end up doing a deal on this or not, you should probably think about doing this. Whether we do a deal here or not, you should probably think about, cleaning up the outside, or you should probably think about raising your rent, or you should probably think about, giving them some advice, whether we do a deal or not, add value to the other side. It gives us that credibility. It makes us somebody that they want to work with. So point number 2, knowledge is power. Educate yourself and make sure that those that are in that transaction with you feel as though you're educated in this. And if you're not, that's okay. You can do that. You can get yourself educated, or you can have members of your team that are. Point number 3, guys, trust is huge. And this is very simple. And you may say, okay, well, this is obvious. But it happens often. And that is never lie when it comes to negotiating. And it can be tempting at times to maybe stretch the truth a little bit. But lies will always be discovered. If not right away, at some point, which will hurt our credibility, which will hurt our reputation. So trust in a negotiation is huge. If the other side trusts you, you trust the other side, things can run so much smoother, can't they? So keep that in mind when you're doing things, and don't be stretching the truth. Just say it how it is. Be realistic. Be trustworthy. Answer questions. And if you don't know the answer to those questions, that's okay. Just say, hey, I'll get the answer to those questions. I don't know it right now. It's totally okay to say that. And that will help to build the trust when it comes to negotiations. This works the same thing if we're dealing with a potential money partner as well. Or we're trying to raise capital. If people don't trust us, they're not going to deal with us. So if they catch us in one tiny little lie that at the end of the day means nothing, it's so unimportant, could that cause us from losing maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars down the road? Yes, it could. So being trustworthy is huge in this business, guys. Here's another point that I find really interesting, and it is number 4. Point number 4, guys. Make them think that they're leading the show. Now, why do you think we want to do that? Why do you think we want them to feel like they're the ones leading the show? Here's the deal, guys. When we offer them the 3 offer strategy, they're the ones making the pick. They're leading the show. They're saying, hey, I want that one. That one works best for me. Now, remember, I didn't say let them lead the show. There's a difference here, guys. I'm saying make them think that they're leading the show. And this works in so many different aspects of this business. Is those that we're working with, we want them to think that they have the control, that they have the power. Even though they might not. And that's okay. If they feel as though their ideas are starting to come to fruition for one reason or another, maybe they're getting something they didn't think that they would get. They're going to be maybe more easily swayed on removing some of the things that are important to us or adding in some of the things that are important to us. So remember to keep that in mind too in your negotiation. Everyone likes to feel that they're making the decisions. That's right, Karine. Exactly. Nobody likes to feel like they're getting pushed around, right? That's the point here, guys, is don't make the other side feel like you're winning everything, because in the end you won't. Okay. So, we want them to feel like they're getting a little bit of power in this as well. Point number 5, don't act like it's your last deal. Don't act like this is the one deal that you've ever done and it's your last deal you're ever going to do. How could we possibly act that way? We start focusing on just this one transaction or this one deal, and it's so important. If we do that, we lose focus to everything else around us. We might lose out on other deals that are even better. But the more that we act like this is so important to us, that is obviously giving power to the other side, isn't it? In our negotiation. So we don't want to act like it's the end all be all for us. Humility and empathy for the other side shouldn't ever be taken for granted when it comes to negotiation. And remember that negotiation table, when you're there actually negotiating with somebody, it's not a battleground. Okay. It's not like, okay, well, they moved here, I'm going to move there. They moved here, I'm going to move there. We want to take that mentality out. We want to look for something that's going to work for them, something that's going to work for us. And if it doesn't work for us, we can walk away. Remember, our emotions aren't getting involved in this. Hopefully they're not. All right. We want to keep them out as much as we can. So that's point number 5. Don't act like it's your last deal. Point number 6, let the other party speak first. And this ties in with what we talked about a little bit earlier. What happens, I found, and I learned this actually from a realtor that we had when we were doing a lot of our buying. He probably did about 30 of our properties with us. And one of the things that I found interesting for him, and so remember, this is a realtor to us as a client relationship. And when we were talking about negotiations, that sort of stuff, I don't know how many times he just sat there on the phone, and this was before the days of Zoom and all of that sort of stuff, sat there on the phone just silent. And I took note of that because it was really, really good. I felt uncomfortable and I started speaking. He got more information and it helped his negotiation. So we got to be careful that we don't speak too much. We want to listen to the other side and never put all your cards on the table all at once. Stay quiet, listen to what the other side has to say and navigate from there. So let the other party speak first. And this comes from negotiating too, guys, is, whether we're negotiating on a car or whether negotiating on a real estate or whatever it might be. Let's say somebody has an asking price of a house at $300,000. And if we go in and we say, hey, listen, what's your best price? Start with that. We go in with an offer right away. Sometimes what happens is now we're in that negotiation, but sometimes, you get, okay, well, I think our best price is $290. Well, now that's the starting point of your negotiation. Okay, now you're negotiating from $290 instead of negotiating from $300. So let the other party speak first. What's your best price? What's the best you think you could do on this? And then that's your new starting point. Okay, so let the other party speak first. Remember that when it comes to negotiation. Point number 7. We've gone through 6 so far, guys. Point number 7, understand real estate market dynamics. So this ties in again with being educated. This ties in with making sure we know what we're talking about when it comes to real estate. Knowing the market rates, knowing everything that goes on. Knowing that if it has, some updates to the home, okay, that adds value. If certain updates are needed, okay, well, that's going to have a cost. So that's what I mean by real estate market dynamics is, Do you understand what costs are actually needed and which ones aren't? How much are they going to cost to repair, to get a tenant ready? Those sorts of things. So if we understand those things right up front, then it's not something we have to go back and renegotiate at some other point. And if we don't understand it, hire professionals. Get in our contractors, get in our surveyors, get in our inspectors, get our contractors in, maybe our painters, whatever it might be, depending on what we're talking about. Get them in and get their opinions. What is this going to cost? The more that we know about that upfront, the more value that's going to be during the negotiation. Here's an interesting point that I want you guys to remember too. And remember, guys, throw your questions in the chat if you have any. But point number 8, when it comes to negotiating on your offer, some things are going to work for you and some things aren't. Simple as that. Maybe you used the 3-offer strategy a few times and it worked fantastic. Okay. Are you keeping record of what's working for you and what isn't? Maybe you're going in with X amount of percent under market value on average. Is that working? Is it not? Maybe you're going in and asking for something extra, or an extra long closing date, or maybe you're asking for extra long time for your conditions, or maybe you're asking for certain things kind of all the time. Are you keeping track of what your regular practices are and what is working and what is not working? Now, of course, we're talking in this scenario about somebody that's maybe putting in multiple offers, putting in quite a few offers all at once, or maybe putting in, is fairly active as a real estate investor. But keep a little bit of a database as to what's working for you. Maybe, do you know what your average below asking price, what your accepted offers are? Do you know what your average deposit amount is in relation to the purchase price? Do you know how long you're usually getting on condition dates? Do you know how long you're usually getting as far as far out or close as a closing date? Do you know those stats? Keep track of them. That will help you in your negotiations going forward. Point number 9, guys. Point number 9 when it comes to negotiating is be okay with saying no. Be okay with walking away. And this was a lesson that I learned when I was probably about 10 years old. I remember going into a car dealership with my dad, and he was negotiating on a new van. Remember those vans that had like the plush interior? They were like, I don't know, 7, 8 seater, and had a bed that folded down in the back, a big Ford Econoline. That's what it was. I remember him negotiating on this van, and they were a little bit apart as far as price. I don't remember the exact numbers. But what I do remember about that negotiating, sitting in the dealership with him, was there was a point where he said, you know what, it's just not going to work for me. He got up and said, okay, thanks for your time. We're going to go. We walked out of the dealership. We got into our car, and we sat there for about 5 minutes before somebody ran out and said, hey, listen, we can do this. And that lesson taught me a lot, that it's okay sometimes to say no. And it's okay to walk away. Sometimes somebody's going to come back. Sometimes they won't. But it's okay to say no in a negotiation. And sometimes time passes and you can start negotiating again, maybe a month down the road, 2 months down the road, and maybe the seller at that point is a little bit open to what you were trying to get. But be okay saying no. Be okay walking away. Don't get too emotionally involved in your offers, in your negotiations. Point number 10. And this is, to me, the number one point when it comes to negotiation, is know the other party. Study their goals. Get to know what they're trying to get out of the deal. And how do you find that out? It's by asking questions. It's like, they might have a property for sale, and, you might do a little bit of research and say, okay, it's been on the market for 91 days. It was listed before that last year for 280 days. We start getting some information that way. we get a realtor, or maybe we inquire with the vendor and we say, hey, listen, how come it hasn't sold yet? Is there something wrong with the property we don't know about? Start asking questions. What's the deal with it? Why are you selling? And remember that the seller or the seller's realtor are not obligated to give you the answer to these questions, but it doesn't hurt to ask. There's nothing wrong with asking these questions. The worst thing that can happen is they say, no, I don't want to tell you the answer to that question. But ask as many questions as you possibly can. Get to know the seller. Get to know their reasons, their goals, why they're selling. Because maybe their goal is they need to be out in 3 weeks and they need that money. Maybe we can get a better price if we can close quick. Maybe their goal is they still need to live there for another 6 or 8 months. But they want to sell, but they don't want to leave it to the last minute. And so maybe that works out great for us in a long close. And we can get a lower price because we're going to give them their long close. Remember, there's so many things that might be important to the seller other than price. And we always, a lot of times focus on price. But there's so many different things when it comes to a negotiation that can be just as important or more important than price. So get to know what the other party needs. Learn that. Ask the questions. Get the story. It doesn't hurt to ask. Get your realtor to ask. They might be uncomfortable doing it, but get them to ask those questions. Find out what the other side needs. Once you find that out, that is going to help you in your negotiation big time. So those are our 10 points that I wanted to share with you guys tonight. I'll run through them quickly again to make sure that you didn't miss anything, but here we go. Number 1, never act too excited. Number 2, knowledge is power. Ask questions. That ties in with number 10. No, and this is know your goals, guys. So gain knowledge, gain education. This is about you. Know your goals, number 2. Number 3, be trustworthy. Don't lie in your negotiation. It'll be found out. Number 4, make them think that they're leading the show. Give them some options. Let them do some of the picking. Number 5, don't act like this is your last deal. It's so important. You have to get this one deal done. Don't be desperate. Number 6, let the other party speak. So you talk less, listen more. And again, this ties in with gaining that knowledge we're talking about. Number 7, understand the real estate market dynamics. What's happening in that market? Is it normal to be able to get some time for conditions? Is it normal to get a long closing? Is it normal to ask under market, or are every property going over market? Know the market before you go in. Number 8, make a database of what works for you, what techniques are working, which ones aren't. We're all a little different. And a technique that might work for me might not work for you, and vice versa. So keep track of some of your stats, how you're doing when it comes to this. Number 9, be okay walking away. Be okay saying no. And number 10, know the other party. Get to know their goals. What do they want out of the deal? If we do these things, guys, our negotiations are going to run so much smoother. We're going to get so much farther. We're actually going to win. We're actually going to get a negotiation done. We're actually going to get a deal done. And that is winning a negotiation. So guys, I hope that some of the points that we shared tonight, you can put into practice here in April if you're still wanting to put in an offer, or if you have an offer going right now. Remember some of these principles when it comes to negotiation, so that you are getting a win and the other side is as well, and everything works out great for both sides. That's the goal for all of this. So we hope that you guys are taking action. You're making these offers. You're putting them in. Don't be too scared. Don't be going out there and throwing a million offers, but put 1 or 2, get some stuff out there, guys. Take some action this month. That's what this is all about. We're going to continue this theme as we go throughout the month. And remember, guys, May 10, 11, 12, 13 is our next upcoming boot camp. Jules will throw the link in the chat. If you're wanting to register, you're wanting to keep this momentum going, you're wanting to learn more, you're wanting to raise capital, you're wanting to do all that sort of stuff, that's what our next boot camp is going to be about. It's 50% off right now at $97. So guys, now is the time to jump in and get committed to that. And we're going to be running Taking Action April throughout the rest of this month, guys. And then our theme for May I can't remember what it is, but it's going to be pretty cool too. Making Money Money Magnet May, something like that, I think. So looking forward to that. But guys, there we go. We're going to see all of our Ignited members over in our Ignited session. There we go. Jules just shared the link for our boot camp. So just click on that, guys, register, get in, get to meet a whole new group of boot campers. What we found is that when these boot campers get together, whether we have 40, 50 or 100 of us, what happens is there's little relationships and that end up being built within this group of boot campers. And of course, we do offer a full scholarship into our Ignited program for one lucky boot camper. So that is available this upcoming boot camp as well. So really looking forward to that. That's it for tonight, guys. Have a great evening. We'll see our Ignited members over in our laser session on Zoom in about 10 minutes or so. And there we go. Have a great evening, everybody. We'll see